Good day, everyone. Welcome back to Uplift 66, our weekly video podcast that addresses issues of bereavement and loss. This is a program that projects resources for those who are impacted like myself with grief, having visited us either recently or maybe a long time ago. But progress is slow for some of the people who are grieving. I want to say to you that Uplift 66 is so named because it was on my 66th birthday that I lost my daughter. She passed suddenly at age 43 in Toronto, Canada. Uplift 66 is also 66 because of the fact that in my time of lament, I turned to the scriptures. I started looking in Lamentations, and then I came to recognize upliftment verses are found in several books, every book of the Bible, all 66. I want to also say to you that I come here as a layman. I am not a theologian, nor a pastoral figure, but I have done the searches in my own way, and I'm sharing from a layman's perspective what I have seen in a way to help us get spiritual upliftment, even social upliftment, and economic upliftment is not beyond some of you from the kind of information that is shared. I'm encouraged by the reactions that I've been getting on YouTube and Facebook, especially, for this sharing. And I want to indicate that I have two very good resource technical people who push this program forward, and therefore we are able to come into your homes or your cars or your spaces every week since February. Now, I would always treat with the subject matter of having a spiritual nugget, that is looking at a spiritual book, and today it is going to be similar. I also want to close off by referring in the end to Helen Jager's book of 9 Paths Through Grief. So continue tuning in, and I'll be right back to share today's nuggets with you. So we are back, and today the feature book is the Book of Ruth in the Old Testament, which is a remarkably tender narrative of loss, loyalty, and restoration. For bereaved persons, it offers quiet but powerful reassurance that grief does not have the final word. So I would share a few of the verses about this book that are quite relevant. And let me frame this story, because Ruth is really a story. The main characters are Ruth, who is the daughter-in-law of Naomi, and both of them are grief-stricken. And the other major player is Boaz, who came in as a comforter in this particular story line. So, Ruth, chapter 1, verse 16 to 17, is really addressing the commitment in the face of loss. And the key verse is, "Where you go, I will go. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God." Upliftment insight, Ruth demonstrates unwavering loyalty to Naomi even after both have suffered devastating bereavement. The relevance today, grief can feel isolating, but this passage reminds us of the healing power of companionship and presence. For those grieving, the support of even one committed person can anchor hope and prevent emotional collapse. The second verse to be noted here is treated as a theme, honest expression of grief. And it is Ruth 1, verse 20 to 21. "Do not call me Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty has dealt bitterly with me. The upliftment insight is Naomi openly expresses her pain, even redefining her identity through her sorrow. She had lost 2 sons. One of them would have been the husband of Ruth. The relevance today. This affirms that grief should not be suppressed. In modern bereavement care, acknowledging pain is essential for healing. Faith does not deny sorrow. It makes room for it. And the third component, or the third theme in this book of Ruth, God's covering in brokenness. And it is Ruth chapter 2, verse 12. It says, "The Lord repay you for what you have done, under whose wings you have come for refuge." The upliftment insight is Boaz speaks blessings over Ruth, recognizing her faith and sacrifice. And the relevance today, this verse reassures the bereaved that even in vulnerability, there is divine covering and refuge. It speaks to the idea that acts of faith and perseverance are seen and honored. There is another point to consider: worth and dignity restored. And the verse here is Ruth chapter 3, verse 11. "All my fellow townsmen know that you are a woman of noble character." What is the upliftment insight? Ruth, a widow and outsider, is publicly affirmed and valued. So she came from another tongue, so to speak, to seek refuge in this place where Boaz was. And indeed, the people were very accepting of her from that community. And that was very surprising to herself and to Naomi. And I want to make this point, that widows need resources. And these people would have gotten resources, not from any other agency, but largely from Boaz, a man. Quite wealthy, but he was a man. For us today, there is an organization in Trinidad by the name of Tamar International. And that is a source of encouragement, a source of support for widows and widowers. So you can call and find out about how to access them, and go online and find Tamar International out of Trinidad. I did an interview with Shirlene Berment earlier in this series, and she is the founder and CEO of that organization. The relevance today is loss can erode self-worth, but this passage reminds grieving individuals that their identity is not defined by loss. Community affirmation and dignity are crucial for emotional recovery. And finally, I want to talk about the fifth point, restoration after loss. And here we are looking at Ruth chapter 4, verses 14 to 15. "Praise be to the Lord. He will renew your life and sustain you in your old age." Upliftment insight. Naomi, once empty and bitter, experiences restoration through new life and renewed purpose. Relevance today. This speaks profoundly to bereaved persons. Life can hold meaning again. While loss is irreversible, purpose and joy can re-emerge in unexpected ways through relationships, legacy, and community. All of these elements, the Naomi and Ruth, who were both facing grief, they were able to enjoy that from Boaz and his people in Boaz's tongue in that period. Now, I close by making reference to certain things. Contemporary reflection for bereavement support. The Book of Ruth provides a grief journey framework. Loss is real. Companionship is vital. Faith provides refuge. Identity can be restored, and hope can return. Now, I want to close by making reference to Helen Jager's work, because as I said a while ago, Naomi talked about Mara. Mara is indication of bitterness and lack of worth, and she likened herself to that. So Helen Jacobs' 9 Paths to Grief has a particular point that I would like to underscore as we get ready to close. In the book Paths Through Grief, which I shared on earlier, a book by Helen Jacobs, it addresses 9 different paths through grief. Among them, vulnerability, mercy, anger, letting go, silence. But in view of what we have gone through this morning with the effect or the challenges faced by Naomi and her daughter-in-law Ruth, I felt it would be just good to touch on angerness. Anger is one of the 9 paths through grief, and this is what the book highlights. The order of this world, the order of grief and anger, will pass away. As we allow our anger to surface, we can begin to experience some of that ultimate healing and release. We discover both that the gift of forgiveness is powerful and that forgiveness is a powerful act. As we do so, the weight falls from our shoulders and the scales fall from our eyes. Our burden of anger has been acknowledged and it has been laid down. Only we can make this act of surrender. No one else can do it for us. Finally, now we look to new horizons and new possibilities. Our bodies and hearts find strength as we begin to walk and run in uncharted paths. Anger is replaced by adventure. This book of Ruth takes us into a place where Ruth eventually marries Boaz, and Naomi is thrilled to be in a favorable climate in that location. That is almost like an adventure unfolding, but they moved away from the path of anger. So can we. We who are still struggling with this situation can look at 9 paths through grief and build on a platform for grief management and eventual full empowerment. I want to bid you a pleasant good afternoon and see you in another program next week.